Hello and welcome to Mount Kendrick, the site of the 2000 pumpkin fire. My name is Dave and I will be your guide today. We will be exploring the historical significance of the mountain with fire, the factors that caused the pumpkin fire, and its impacts on the mountain, as well as the impacts on archaeological preservation during and after the pumpkin fire. By studying these factors, we can see the impacts and benefits of the fire not only on a local but also a national scale. After the presentation, I will be hosting a short questions and answer session about the pumpkin fire. To begin, we should look at the historical relation between the mountain and fire. Over 1.4 million years ago, Mount Kendrick began its earliest relation with fire, rising up as a dome volcano to its current elevation of 10,422 feet. And ever since its fiery beginning, it has played a key role in northern Arizona. For many thousands of years, this was home to many indigenous peoples before the Western settlers came to the region, often living in harmony with the environment. This was one of the earliest sites that played a key role in fire detection, however, as in the late 1800s and early 1900s, as settlers moved out here, its peak provided a clear view of the region to allow firefighters to catch fires. Imagine being alone up here in the early 1900s, working by yourself to go fight fires, sometimes for days at a time by yourself before other sources could help show up and fight the fire with you. In 1914, the cabin was commissioned to provide lodging for the fire lookouts, and a telephone line was established to provide for better communication for firefighters in northern Arizona. In 1953, the more modern lookout was commissioned by the Forest Service to provide the highest lookout in northern Arizona. This also brought forth the advent of some newer equipment that allowed for extremely accurate fire detection to protect and help fight fires. For the last century, the site was used to fight fires all over the region, but none were expecting what came next. In the early 1990s and to the early 2000s, there was a radical change in fire behavior across the U.S. as a result of an old Forest Service management policy. This policy was called the 10 a.m. rule and was used for fire suppression from the early 1900s all the way up until the 1990s. The rule established that if there was a fire, you should put it out by 10 a.m. the next day. This was an effective management policy. People were happy, nobody's houses were burning down. However, this allowed for many materials that would have normally been burnt in natural fires, which are healthy for this forest, to not be removed. And it also allowed for small saplings to grow, creating a heavier fuel loading, as the firefighting terminology, which would lead to more extreme fire behavior. More wood on the fire, the bigger the fire is. The forests here are meant to have fires run through them every 10 years about to help remove fuels and fertilize soil. It also naturally thins trees and keeps the environment healthier. With this extreme fuel reloading from Forest Service policies, when the summer of 2000 brought forth drought conditions leading to a dry and arid environment and extreme fire conditions around the area. One of the things we would use to help show this, if you could all pick up a pine needle off of the ground and just start folding it in half. Right now it's a little bit more moist and earlier in the season, so there's still more moisture from the snowpack. As you bend that needle in half, you'll notice that it bends and does not break. When there's extreme conditions, you'll be able to fold that needle in half 3 times. And that's a really good indicator that you should not be having a campfire at the time. On May 24th, lightning struck a ponderosa pine on the southwest side of the mountain from a thunderstorm with winds that helped rapidly spread the fire up the southwest slope, and it eventually began to wrap around the entire mountain. The fire burned through varied terrain and fuel types such as aspen, mixed conifer, and ponderosa forest. These massive scars you can see are from the fire crowning and making large runs with temperatures that can exceed 1700 degrees Fahrenheit. In the wilderness area on this mountain, heavy equipment could not be used as it's meant to be left unimpacted by man, resulting in difficulty of fighting fire effectively. As a result of this, the fire was able to burn through much of this wilderness area without being caught, and was finally eventually contained outside of the wilderness barriers. The fire was extinguished on June 24th of the same year after burning roughly about 14,760 acres. One of the key factors in this fire that allowed for development of new policies was that due to prior knowledge of a variety of archaeological and national heritage sites on the mountain, a team of firefighter-trained archaeologists were brought in to help mitigate impacts on the sites. The team helped manage fire suppression around the sites, flagging them, and then also when crews accidentally discovered new sites, they would catalog them. They helped manage and catalog over 100 sites on the mountain, including how much it burned, if it was burned, if there was any need to monitor or help repair or protect. One of the greatest feats of this was the creation of a custom fire shelter to protect this very cabin. Here's a piece of the fire shelter material. Firefighters are all required to carry it, and it's a very interesting conglomerate. It's not pleasant to be inside of one of these. However, it allowed for this cabin to be protected in conjunction with airdrops from helicopters and planes. It was an overwhelming feat to help protect this as well as other sites, and an indication of the modern shift towards protecting things and not just fighting the fire. A grant was provided to help study the impacts of the fire and suppression techniques in the area, along with rehabbing the site to help prevent flooding. One of the major benefits was also cataloging new sites and discovery of interesting caches. One of the coolest things, in my opinion, on this mountain, they've found these giant basins in some of these basalt rock bands where the Native Americans have carved out these sometimes 100-gallon tanks that filled during the monsoons to provide them water. We would have been unaware of those without this fire. So that is pretty neat to me. Continuing on, as a result, the archaeologists were able to study this, look at the rehab techniques, and help mitigate flooding in certain areas and help protect sites. It allowed for a fire to be fought effectively and for improvement in future fire behavior. Through studying these causes of the fire, the history of the mountain and the actions of the fire, and also the archaeological impacts together, it shows that a small local fire can still help create national policies and help create a national impact on how to protect this area, not only in wilderness, but outside, and how to appeal to a variety of mixed needs in the modern era. Thank you for coming to the presentation, and I will now answer any questions you guys have.